What's going on, people? This is Full Chess, top of the day to you. Hope you're doing well. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. As always, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, kindly subscribe to the channel. Really appreciate all the comments and all the likes and everything and the engagement. It's been awesome. Thanks a lot. So as you might already know, during this week, last month, specifically, Burkina Faso has been on the map on the international stage, which is awesome. President Ibrahim Traore has been, he's received the backing of a lot of people, even though some of them are shady, but hey, the support is more than welcomed on the continent. It's much appreciated. And I pray for him. I hope he does extremely well, and I hope his mind continues to be in the right place. So Burkina Faso is doing well. But however, I can't help to wonder what's next. And not what next when it comes to Burkina Faso, but specifically on the continent, what other country should follow suit? What other countries should follow the blueprint of Burkina Faso? One country that comes to mind, and this is strictly because of its colonial master, so to speak. Like I always say, man, I think that France and Germany are some of the worst colonizers during the era. I know all the colonizers were terrible, but France and Germany did a toll on every country. It's like they had a long-term game to suppress a country forever and ever. And as time is going on, I'm happy these countries are realizing it, although it's taking some form of radicalism and not your quintessential form of governance, democracy, but other forms of governance, which, as if you follow my channel, you know my feeling about when it comes to democracy on the continent. I mean, who's to say that's the right form of government for every country, right? And we're seeing that manifest in some of the successes that we're seeing on the continent. But, when it comes to colonization, I think France and Germany did a toll on the countries that they were ahead. And like I always say, I think Africa was a piece of cake for all these colonizers. They just took a piece, bit off, threw away, and did whatever they want. But more specifically, I think sometimes also these colonial folks, when they dealt with a country, they left the pieces of the cake for another country to take over. Or if they were tired of it, they just said, you know what, I don't know what to do with this country anymore. Here, you go. And that's the case of Cameroon. Cameroon is a country that has been under civil war since 2016. And I'm going to get into the reason for the origin of the conflict in Cameroon. However, the analogy of the cake and Cameroon comes into play because Cameroon was not just a French colony. It was a German colony first, right? After Germany finished what it needed to do, it's like, okay, French take, English take. So the French and the English took over pieces of Cameroon and did their exploits, which is why you have Francophone, Anglophone in Cameroon, and which birthed the never-ending civil war in that country. I mean, the country got its independence in 1960, just like a lot of African countries, but it really has not been, it hasn't realized its fullest potential since independence. Let's keep it at that. And there are reasons for that, and I'm going to get into that in a little bit. So, the never-ending civil war in Cameroon, aka the Anglophone crisis, aka the Ambazonia conflict, very weird name, but it is what it is. It's what it's called. This has been going on since 2016. Entered gear in 2017, and till 2025 is still a thing in that West African country of Cameroon. So, to give you some the origins of this conflict. So basically, the Anglophone side of Cameroon feels it's not being treated because the Francophone side of Cameroon dominates the government. And so there has been an insurrection by the Anglophone creating its own
Ambazonia.
state called, so it's a weird name, but that is what they chose to call the new state, Ambazonia. However, ever since this has, been created, it's not been well received by the Cameroonian government. And therefore, there has been a lot of civil unrest. It has created, what is called the never-ending civil war. It's been going on since 2016, like I mentioned. And, just to give you like some context to this. So how did this all start? So basically, it's reported that, a couple like English-speaking lawyers and teachers in Cameroon began protesting, indicating that there's a cultural marginalization in the country by the dominated Francophone side. This led to like violent crackdown by the Cameroonian government and security forces in the northwest and southwest region. And these are the areas that are predominantly, inhabited by the country's Anglophone minority. So the Anglophone English-speaking are the minority in Cameroon. The Francophone French-speaking are seen as the majority. So the Anglophone people, as I've mentioned previously, created the Ambazonia in the northwest and southwest regions. And since then, there have been an armed separatist group, which has caused, they've clashed with the Cameroonian security forces. So there's been widespread of atrocities in the country, various, civilian unrest. It's reported that about 7,000 people have died since 2016, which could be higher than that. And of course, when these things happen, there's humanitarian abuses and clashes. There's the displacement of people, women, children. It's just a catastrophe, so to speak. So this has been happening in Cameroon since 2016, 2017. What has the government done about this? So basically, the Cameroonian government has responded with, various military crackdown, which has, of course, led to a cycle of violence and civil unrest, mostly targeting civilians. And we all know that when there are such cases in a country, it has a trickle-down effect. So, it reminds me of like the Biafran civil war in Nigeria, where the Igbos are the minority, they wanted to succeed, and the majority, which was Nigeria then, of course, they won. So the same thing happening in Cameroon now, although it's still going on. But the main thing here is that it birthed, there becomes mercenaries and, sponsoring this militia groups or the separatist movement. They need money for weapons. So how are they going to get it? They're going to be kidnapping people, and civilians are going to be affected in the long run. But why is this relevant vis-a-vis Burkina Faso? This is relevant because Cameroon is going to have its elections in 2025, right? Wait for it. So Cameroon got its independence in 1960, of course, from the French and the English. In 1960, it had a president that ruled for, I guess, maybe from the 60s, 70s, up until the early 80s. Between that time, they had a prime minister by the name of Paul Biya. Paul Biya was the prime minister from the 70s up to the early 80s. He took office in the 1980s, and wait for it, he has been the only president of Cameroon up until now, 2025. He is 91 years old, and he is going to run for presidency again in 2025. This is not only funny, but this undermines, I think it undermines the whole of Cameroon. How in the world, there's no legal system, there's no functioning institution in the country. How can a president rule the country for all these years? There is civil unrest, and he still has the mind to run for office again. Somebody from Cameroon needs to explain to me what is really happening. This man is 91 years old. How is he even going to run a country? I can't fathom how he's going to run a country at 91. Is he going to be a pseudo president? What is he actually going to do? And for Christ's sake, the man should go and relax somewhere. So this is the problem on the continent now with Cameroon. And this is why Burkina Faso is relevant. There is this perception of godfatherism on the continent by all these old political figures who feel that they own the country, and no matter what disaster is going on in the country, they feel that they can still run the country. Which is why what is happening in Mali, Burkina Faso, Senegal is an eye-opener. For Africa to ever go ahead, the old contracts need to be demolished. The old agreements need to go. And how do the old agreements go? The people that signed them, they gotta go as well. That's the only way. And I hope Cameroon is watching, and the whole world is going to be watching Cameroon. Is the status quo going to reign in Cameroon in 2025? Or is Cameroon going to learn from other countries close by and do something to make sure that its never-ending civil war finally comes to an end one way or the other? Because it's ridiculous. We're in 2025, people. We need to act like it's 2025 Cameroon. Let's do something. Let's get it going, people. Let's do something, please. If you're from Cameroon, or if you're on the continent, I'm definitely interested to hear what you have to say about this, because for a 91-year-old to have the effrontery to run for office, something has to be going on that we don't know about, and we would like to know about it. So until next time, people, this is Full Chest, where we say things with our full chest. Once again,